Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a fifth year student here at the University of Washington, and I'm disabled. I have a chronic illness that affects my daily life in many different ways.
Hi, I'm Mira. I've been a Ph.D. student here at UW since fall of 2015, and I don't identify as disabled, but besides a love of science and the natural world, two other things that have an impact on my experience as a grad student here are migraines and major recurrent depression.
If you're wondering about how to maintain and manage your mental health while you're in graduate school, we have another video that we'll link to below. This video is primarily going to focus on navigating a PhD with a disability, which we'll define as any physical or mental condition that affects your ability to engage in one or more major life activities. And graduate school is definitely a major life activity.
One thing to note is that the disability umbrella is huge and encompasses a wide variety of experiences, so most of this information will be pretty general. But we wanted to make this video anyway because almost no one talks about this topic. If you're interested in grad school and you have a disability, the first thing you should know is that you're not alone. In a 2008 survey, 7% of US doctoral students and 8% of master's students reported having some kind of disability. Disability status intersects with other aspects of identity. In general, women, veterans, students who are 24 or older, and students who identify as belonging to two or more races are also more likely to report a disability. Second, you have certain protections under US law. For one thing, you have the right to apply to any school or program you want to, and you cannot be denied admission because of your disability.
However, you are also never obligated to disclose your disability or any other details about your health to a school, academic department, faculty member, or staff person. That being said, if you want or need academic accommodations, you will need to talk to somebody about your situation and, depending on the request, may also need to provide documentation. Every school has a disability service office for students, as well as one for university employees. As a graduate student, if you are paid as a teaching assistant or research assistant, you are considered an employee, so you fall under both of these categories. It can sometimes be a challenge to figure out whose job it is to support you.
As a general rule, if you need academic accommodations, so that is, help getting access to resources that will help you succeed in a class you're taking, such as videotaped lectures, the student office is the place to go. If you need workplace accommodations, such as being given an office assignment that's wheelchair accessible, being allowed to work from home, or time off from doctor's appointments, then the Human Resources Department is likely your best bet. It's a good idea to look up the websites for both these offices and even communicate directly with them to ask questions before you apply. Doing this can give you your first clue about the kind of environment you're likely to encounter when you start school.
Ultimately, you are the expert on what you need to succeed, so it's always a good policy to ask directly for what will help you. If you don't ask, it will likely never be offered. One of the questions you may want to ask about is health insurance coverage. Depending on the amount of your stipend and the state where you're planning to go to school, you may find that your income exceeds the maximum allowable amount to be eligible for Medicaid. You can find this out by Googling the name of the state, Medicaid, and maximum income. If Medicaid is not an option, you may be eligible for health insurance through your school. This is different in every program.
Here at UW, PhD students who work as graduate teaching or research assistants for at least 3/4 of the year receive year-round health insurance coverage with premiums fully covered, though adding dependents involves an extra charge. This is a great benefit, but it's important to note that it's renegotiated every time the graduate student contract expires, which at UW is every 3 years or so. At schools where graduate students aren't unionized, it's possible insurance benefits could change more frequently. You can and should ask the program manager at your school, or every school you're considering, for a detailed explanation of the coverage you're eligible for. If there are specific services that you know you'll need, you can also ask for a current plan coverage booklet.
Unfortunately, like any environment, academia is not immune to ableism. For example, you are likely to encounter the perspective that disability is something that needs to be overcome. This attitude is well-meaning but ultimately harmful. In fact, the social barriers that interfere with people's abilities to function in a given setting when they have a disability are what often prevents disabled people from succeeding. If you are physically unable to walk, there is no amount of positive thinking that will allow you to climb stairs.
It's also worth being prepared for the fact that there may be hidden expectations of PhD life that may be more difficult if you have a disability, like attending social events in the evening after you've definitely run out of energy for the day. Also, alcohol is often the focus of department get-togethers, and health considerations mean that neither of us drinks. That can be awkward, especially if no one has thought to provide non-alcoholic alternatives that aren't sparkling water. We don't have the solution to this, but the approach I tend to take is attending only the social events that I really look forward to going to, like the annual department retreat, and not feeling like I have to attend every happy hour. It helps not to feel like you need to explain or justify yourself to everyone else, and to look for people who understand and can empathize with your situation.
One of the differences between being a disabled undergrad and being a disabled Ph.D. student is that, as a grad student, you are in a long-term relationship with your advisor and the rest of your department. Our best advice is to choose your PI and program thoughtfully, because that will help avoid conflict down the road. We'll link to another video about how to choose a lab to join that might be helpful. Ultimately, I'm here because I love science. If you do too, know that pursuing a PhD can be worth it.
Thanks for watching.